Sleep Geek Podcast. It's a raucous romp through the mattress industry with your hosts, Mark Kinsley and Mark Quinn. Dos Marcos. Mattress industry mavens, hang on to your quilted pillow tops because this tick's about to get real.
Live on Facebook. Welcome to the Sleep Geek Podcast. This is Mark Quinn. He's got a sweet shirt on.
And that's Mark Kinsley, and his is black. He blends right into the booth.
Yeah, just if I made it spiky, I would literally blend right into the booth.
Chameleon you are.
Yeah, I mean, every once in a while I turn around here and it gives me vertigo.
Yeah.
I look back and I'm like, no, stop. I don't know. It's so disorienting.
But you feeling okay?
I'm feeling good.
All right. So we've really stepped it up. We have lights now, I notice. We have a producer.
Yeah, they have a soft box. That's a soft box light.
Nice. I like that. Versus a hard box.
That's right.
Which I don't know what that would look like.
Yeah.
But Kirsten. You want to talk about Kirsten?
Well, she's the producer. She's the person that is keeping us.
She was screaming at me to get into this closet with you so we would stay on time.
Well, it is 2:30, and we told everybody we'd be live on Facebook at 2:30, so here we are.
Screaming is an exaggeration. She's actually very nice, and thank God for her because now we will stick to what we're supposed to stick to.
The light is too bright. Can we turn the light down a little bit?
Sunglasses.
Just up a little bit.
You have sunglasses? Ooh.
There we go.
A little mood. You got a candle?
It's a little bit better.
We could start burning? I got one. All right.
You want to bust it out? Turn out the lights. Turn it on.
Aretha Franklin.
I know, man.
What was your favorite Aretha Franklin song?
You know, it wasn't my era, man.
It was. So you don't know?
No, I don't know any.
You know
Aretha songs.
Gosh, it was in a movie and it was really good. Say a Little Prayer.
Okay,
Say a little prayer for me, or R-E-S-P-C-T. That one.
Yeah.
Find out what it means to me. Respect. Yeah. Those were both hers. So pick one of those, and you can say that's your new favorite. She was an amazing talent, and she sang from the heart. And when she sang, you actually felt something. I think is what a lot of people say about her. And guess what? She passed away from
pancreatic cancer.
Pancreatic cancer. That's right. So as we move into next week, to the Magowitz event and the Why Wait campaign, unfortunately, Aretha gave her life because of that really crappy disease. So anyway, we think about her, and we think about her especially going into next week for the Magowitz event in Boston. So I'm going to see you there, right?
Yeah, and anybody who's not familiar, I mean, this is a yearly charity event. That's a big golf classic, a huge weekend. Couples come, people come who have been impacted by pancreatic cancer. A lot of people from the mattress industry attend because this group has come together over the years and raised a lot of money.
Yes.
To fund clinical trials and research related to trying to end this terrible disease. And this year, you're the honorary chairman for the Sina Magowitz Foundation event, and you've been raising awareness, raising money, and it's been really fun to see people come together once again to try and snuff this thing out.
I am, and you've been huge to help me with it. It wouldn't be what it was if you weren't there along with me doing what we're doing. The Leggett crew has done some amazing stuff in the creative side. And the advisory board that we've developed has been just unreal. Mike Magnuson and Jeff Cassidy with goodbed.com just throwing the Sina Magowitz foundation.org/why wait. If you want to go there, you can check it out. But he put us on goodbed.com, the front page, man.
Yeah.
And if you want to win the new Sattva bed for free, one of the things you have to do or can do to get an extra entry is going to the Sina Magowitz website page. So very cool. All the things that everyone has done on the advisory board, companies coming together, rallying around a great cause. It's been pretty humbling, I think, for us, don't you think?
Yeah, and if people go to goodbed.com, you can kind of see what we're talking about. There are kind of a variety of ways you can enter to win, and one of them, like Mark said, was going to the Sina Magowitz site. There's a place that it's going to push you. So yeah, it's been great. I mean, people have been incredible, coming together to really put together a campaign that engages the industry in a different way.
Sort of Simmons Bedding, Mattress Firm, all participating at high levels. Sinomax, you've got Pure Care, Protect-A-Bed, so many different companies involved. So anyway, grateful to all of you, and we'll see you, a lot of you, in Boston next week. So
well, one of the parts of this campaign is is the why wait. So
that's your bucket list.
This is my bucket list.
All right,
right
so
here.
hit us with a couple of those before
and
we get going.
For people
here.
that don't know, like, we've got these T-shirts, and if you want some, let us know. Okay, but the whole idea is
We will send you one.
many people facing pancreatic cancer have to ask the question, what am I going to do with my 6 months of life?
Because so many people die within the first 6 months, which
so
is
many
where we
people
came
die
up
in the
with
first
that.
6
Yeah.
months. So we came up with this idea of why wait? Why wait? We as people who may not, be facing a terrible disease, still to empathize with those who are in that frame of mind. Why wait on creating your bucket list and doing the things that you've dreamed about doing? So anyway, like we're all taking out the magic markers, writing them on our shirts, and putting them down on paper. And you've already developed your list of why wait items, right? Your 4.
I did, and it had a big impact on me.
So just the exercise alone, I think, gets people to really take a deeper step in their journey as a human being. So mine are, I really believe that. Don't intersection.
I did not. Yep. Go ahead.
I really believe that like happiness is only found in the present. So all paths lead back to the present.
Yeah.
So I'm really big on trying to cultivate that and remind myself of how important it is. If we go off to school or do anything that we do in life, go on vacation, ultimately we want to be happy in the present moment, and that's what it's all about. So cultivating that state of mind is big for me. Also on my list, I'm going to cycle across the United States of America. That's been something that I've always wanted to do. Ever since I met this guy named Frosty Woldridge. That's
What a name.
Yeah. He had cycled on 6 continents.
Wow.
One of them that he hadn't cycled on was Africa.
Oh.
So he'd cycled in Antarctica. Anyway, I had him on my radio show back in the day. And it just had such a significant impact, him talking about his 6 bike trips across the United States. And then, I want to write a book with somebody. I don't want to do it by myself.
Ooh, yeah. Well, it's odd because that's one of mine.
Really?
So I've been writing. Have you been writing?
I have been reviewing your writing. And then I want to go to Antarctica with my wife, Tara.
Wow, very cool. You can swing the English Channel or bike across the country. You know the benefit of biking across the country?
What's that?
No sharks.
No sharks.
There you go.
No Sharknado.
No Sharknado. There you go.
And then, it didn't really make my list, but one of the things on my bucket list really now is I want my hair to be as awesome as that kid's hair that you saw at the airport.
So you have to hear this. So I'm in the airport. I'm flying home from, where was I this week? Boston. Yes, Boston. I was flying home from Boston. And by the way, if you are not dialed into the Cena Magowitz website, we put it up in the show notes on Facebook. Anyway, so I'm in the airport and I'm about to get on the plane and I see this guy looking at me and I swear to you, he looks so much like you. But what cracked me up was his hair. He's your hair rival. He really is. And so he had this beautiful head of hair and I'm balding. So it's like, have hair envy. But so this dude has this massive, and I'm like, oh, I'm taking his picture and I'm going to give you crap because here's this guy. He's got a better head of hair than you, which is hard to believe. So anyway, you got a picture? Can you post it?
Yeah,
I took a picture of the guy and he's looking straight at me. I didn't realize it. He was probably 15 feet away from me. And I snapped this picture trying to be like really cool as like, not to be noticed. So if any of you know who this guy is, just go ahead and let us know and I'll send a note and apologize to him. But anyway, it cracked me up. So we're gonna put it up in Facebook in the stream. Did you not? Can you not do it?
No, I can't because you can't put a picture.
What?
You can't put a picture right
All right,
now.
so we'll put it in the show notes maybe, but
All right,
pretty
so
crazy.
We'll put it in the show notes. You know what? And just for you saying that somebody is so much better in the hair department than me, you don't get to enjoy this today.
No, I can't. I'm shooting video later today.
I'm putting on the leg and flat hat.
Cool. All right, well, let's go. We got a lot to do, so let's get moving.
Let's talk about, so mquinn.com is your blog that you maintain.
Yes.
And every week you publish, and I think you got
I maintain. You're making it sound like I service it. Like I'm, I can't do any of that, but I do write there.
You write for it.
I'm a writer for them.
You're a writer.
Yeah.
And so this past week you talked about the future of the industry. So number one, okay, you are, for the most part, sparking these ideas on your own. Like when you're doing your blog?
Yeah, but
I know you're on about like gathering them up. Like, why did that topic come to mind?
Isn't it like anything? You get inspired by whatever you see and do and hear and think. And so these are all thoughts that have been swimming around in my head. Now, here's the thing, though. if you're going to be like, I think it's a really stupid thing, don't you, to like try to predict the future, mostly these days. So
Yeah, and if you look back at the amount of material we've dedicated to trying to predict the future, it just shows that we are stupid.
But true. But we have to go back, though. Don't you think it would be cool to like go back and like we've done that prediction shows, and we've gone back and said, okay, how did we do?
And I remember Davor actually said, "Hey, you guys did some predictions last year. Why don't you update everybody on how you did?" Thank you, Davor.
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah. And actually, I think we did pretty well, actually.
Yeah, it was pretty close because our original predictions were so loosey goosey.
Well, not only that, but like super easy. Like we're going to eat in 15 restaurants this year between the two of us, which we hit that one.
Yeah, we nailed that.
Anyway, no. So yeah, but just thinking about current trend, I always loved futurists when I go to an event and they'd have a futurist on stage talking about it. So the idea is to take the current trend, think about the way things are, look at the companies involved, look at the consumer trend, the macro trend, look at the economy, look at other outside things like e-commerce driving certain things, and then try to somehow apply that knowledge into our industry, which is what I've tried to do. But of course, I'm going to get a lot of it wrong, probably, or some of it wrong, maybe. But anyway, we can talk about it. There's some interesting things in there. I've had a lot of great reaction from people so far with this post, so I'm grateful to all of you that have sent me a note. But hey, man, push. If you don't like something I said, or you think I'm crazy, or it's not possible, then we're here for a discussion. It's not a one-sided thing. So.
All right, and if you are on Facebook Live right now, we're going to go through a few points. Hop in the comments section, leave us your thoughts. But one of the first things you started touching on is...
Before we get into that, we've got a couple people watching. Kevin Cornell, hey, man, what's up?
Hey, Kevin, I like
Kevin.
that thumbs
He's at
up.
Market. He's got his son there trying to get into the mattress industry. We need good talent, really sharp kid. So really great to meet him, Kevin. And then we got David Allen Otten.
What's up, David?
David,
man, I think David may be like the most consistent Facebook Live listener out there.
That's a great country western name, isn't it? David Allen? David Allen. Well, David Allen Cole, I guess, is where I'm coming from. But David Allen Otten. All right, thanks, man. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Because your long hair just can't cover up your redneck. I've won every fight I've ever fought.
Wow.
David Allen Coe?
Yeah, so I just know his name. So you got that on me. I guess I got Aretha on you. So, all right. Well, I interrupted you, so let's keep rolling. Sorry.
All right, so you're talking about the future being so bright, you're going to want to wear shades in the mattress industry.
Do you know where that came from, by the way?
It's just like a cliche, right? It's like it's a total.
And yet another example of why this works, because you and I are different ages and from different times. The future is so bright, I gotta wear sage is actually a song.
Is it Huey Lewis in the News?
It's someone like that, but it's like Timbuktu. And I don't know anything else from Timbuktu, but it's like maybe a one-hit wonder thing. But anyway, so I pulled it from a song.
How does it go? The future's so bright.
I gotta wear a shade, and it sounds exactly like a Huey Lewis.
Yeah.
And that's all I know is that one line. Anyway, all right.
Can you name
going.
a few more Timbuktu hits?
Yes. There's I kissed my mom on the front porch, and I regret it to this day. That's one of them.
That one really wasn't.
I just made it up. Yeah, I'm from Texas, so we have stuff like that. But anyway, all right, bail me out of this. Let's go.
Okay, so the future's so bright, I gotta wear shades. The future's so bright, I gotta wear shades. Let me get the mush mouth get the dimes out of my face. So less is more is one of the first points you made about the future being bright. Take us into less is more. What do you mean by less is more in the mattress industry?
So it's a little bit of a contradiction because we know consumers like choice, right? So put a pin in that one. But at the end of the day, what I said was the e-commerce guys are teaching us something a little bit, don't you think? So they've consolidated down to launching with one bed. Now, some of them are expanding that assortment into multiple beds, but you look at shop television, you look at the club business, right? So they are very narrow in assortment. But then you blow it out when you think about, sleep shops, you think about furniture stores, they have much bigger assortments. But I think the evolution of it is, if you look at e-commerce as a guide, there's an opportunity for the industry. I think that there might be some consolidation down to where you're not like, and the consumer gets freaked out. I mean, how much consumer research have we done where you talk to them and they go, I walk into an apartment and there's like 50 beds, and that is way overwhelming to the consumer, and it's already confusing for them anyway, right? And so a couple things driving the more narrow assortments, consumer frustration with the experience, inventory carrying costs would be much less. Your store size, therefore rent factor would drop drastically, so you can put more into acquisition, right? So drive more people. And I don't know. I think there's some things pointing to it. What do you think? I mean, you read it. I mean, do you think I was off base there? Do you think there's something?
Oh, you
to
think
it?
I read this? Is there?
You said you
No,
did.
I think you're right. So whenever you look at choice and assortment of choice, I'm often reminded of two studies. So one is about like jelly in a grocery store, and so the study went something like this: they knew that, like you said, people wanted choice, but how much choice led to people being crippled with indecision? And so the amount of choice they gave them in the very beginning were 24 jams. So they had 24 different jellies up here, and they tested based on some controlled variables, like how many people bought the jam.
Right.
They didn't care which one. They just cared how many people bought the jam. Bought period. So then they took it down, and then they went to 6.
Really,
So
this is
from
fascinating.
24 to 6.
Okay.
And so I can't remember the exact delta. Exponentially more jam was sold when they narrowed it down to 6 jams.
Really?
Yes. Exponentially more. And so the hypothesis went that yes, choice is good, but it has to be the right amount of choice for the way the brain processes information. And it also makes me think about...
But there's also no facilitation there. It's a jam on a shelf.
Right.
So you're not walking into a department where someone's selling to you and educating you potentially. So that might not totally translate, but it certainly does in the e-commerce world, right?
Yeah, certainly. When you're talking about a controlled, online environment, too many choices is no choice. It's about the right amount of choice and helping the consumer, navigate within the framework that they can use. The other example, there was a Stanford study about people getting 2 choices versus 3. And when they had 2 choices, they were able to very quickly make a decision. But when they added just one more option, most people, I know it's kind of like maybe overstating it a bit, but they virtually shut down. Like 3 was too many, 2 is like bifurcating it. I can make a decision based on these 2 options. So that's not like an argument for completely eliminating your SKUs and getting them down to nothing, but it might be an argument for, okay, I'm going to have 2 choices in this category of mattress, 2 choices in my natural, 2 choices in my hybrid, 2 choices in my foam, 2 choices in my latex. So that, just based on, now I'm just spitballing that. But it is a good argument from, casting a wide net, and bringing that down to a more narrow assortment.
So I think those are 2 really helpful surveys, actually, research projects to think about. And to further support that, if you think about, so yes, a mattress sale for the most part, the majority of the industry, they facilitate the sale. So you've got a tour guide, if you will, to get them into the right product. And there's a whole process of fitting someone for a bed, right? And so you narrow down the 50 beds very quickly based on, you lay them on 4. So you go plush, firm, cushion firm, and super plush, or whatever the 4 options are. And then you find out what their comfort preference is, and that shrinks the store pretty quick. So they try, I think most retailers try to do that. But what if you just had 4 price points with 3 beds in each price point? And you just said to the consumer, this is this is our program. Now, you've had people out there, try to simplify, because that's really what this is too, simplification. Simplify by color. You have people try to simplify it by doing a test on a machine. So I think ultimately the theme is potentially simplification, right? But there's a lot of business benefit if you do that.
Now, so conversely...
So I think the business benefit will drive it, is my point.
Right. So conversely, there are two dynamics I think about. So I've never been in charge of merchandising a store, but I have to imagine that, whenever you're thinking about that assortment and trying to optimize that
right.
for the largest number of people, you're a specialty sleep shop. People are going to expect you to have a lot of different mattresses if you're a specialty sleep shop. They're not coming in there for 8 choices. They're coming in there to see, what are the brands, what are the price ranges, what are the different feels. You know what I'm saying?
I buy that, but what about 20?
Yeah,
is 20 good?
That's the thing. I don't know the number.
Because there's like in a lot of shops, there's like 50 beds in there.
Have you seen anybody out in the retail world? Have you seen like shining examples of product assortment, the correct number, maybe store navigation? Are there any like examples that come to mind that you're like, yes, they get it. They're like a boutique store or anything like that?
So I did shop television when I was with Serta. right? So we had a bed. They wanted us to talk about 2 beds. I said, no, we're not going to do 2 beds because on television, they can't try the beds. So if you say it's this one or this one, people are going to like just get frozen and go, well, I don't know. Is it that or that? And because they can't feel them. And so that I think they'll decide not to decide at that point. Dehi, with Tuft and Needle, when I was there visiting him, he took me into their retail concept. They're very narrow, but they've got really cool other things. So that's one of the other things we're going to talk about. But they have really cool other products that help you sleep better, not just the bed. So they got the mattress and they've got a couple options, but they've got many other things. So maybe that's something you could do with that square footage. But I would argue that a consumer doesn't know. And if you at a store level shrunk your assortments by half, but had a lot of confidence in your process and how you brought them through the sale, I think you could probably, if you had the right process, because it's not just shrinking, you can't just do that. It's got to be a selling process to go with it. If you did it right, I think you could be just as effective.
Well, and I think you're going to see the retail landscape, shift. We know that. I don't think there's any major argument that it's going to remain stagnant. But I think part of that shift is going to be influenced by these digital natives. So these direct-to-consumer digital natives opening up retail concepts because they're trying to find growth. And they're going to be coming to that retail concept with mountains of data about product, about navigation process on a site. And they're probably going to be using that to inform how they create a retail experience, both in terms of selling process, messaging, training, but also product assortment and mix.
So before we leave this topic, because we have 3 or 4 more to get to, think about this. Do you reward companies, Apple, some of the apps you have on your phone, do you reward them when they simplify whatever it is you're dealing with? I do. If people can
100%.
simplify
Yes.
stuff for me, I love it. And let me tell you, a mattress purchase is not something that most people want to do or do in a way that's complicated and it's difficult to understand. So I think that simplifying the process, simplifying the selection, I think pays off if. Now, by the way, this coming from 2 guys who aren't retailers. So take that for what it's worth. But I think if you simplify it with the right...
Easy to be an armchair quarterback,
easy
isn't
to be
it?
an armchair. This retail
We
thing's so
hope
easy.
it gives you some
why
ideas.
don't these guys figure this out, right?
Yeah.
No, I really think if you simplify it, I
Hey
think
man,
you
retail,
win.
like doing it,
The hardest part of our industry.
actually
Yeah.
like on the ground game, making those choices, putting your skin in the game, trying to drive traffic, trying to sell properly, trying to deliver. Man, you are checking people have no idea like what goes into running an awesome retail operation as a consumer.
Yeah.
We get a chance to see a lot of that on the front lines, but man, you guys are in a very, very difficult position because so many things have to go right and your inputs matter. Like the choices
Sure.
you make for what to put on the floor matter.
All right, so what's next? I
What's
agree.
next? All right. Hey, you wrote it. You tell me, man.
I can't
Product
remember.
shift.
Product shift, sure.
By the way, just to remind you, we're talking about the future of the mattress industry is so bright. Mark Quinn has to wear shades.
Yep.
Mark Kinsley has to wear shades as well. And we covered less is more. The other thing that's bright about it is product shift.
Product shift. You can find this, by the way, at mquinn.com.
mquinn.com.
So I think product shift, and we've talked about this, so I'm going to try and shed a little new light on that. But big brands, I love the big brands. I feel a little guilty because I feel like I'm attacking them. Not necessarily attacking them, but I really believe that the bigger brands today, they're not spending as much money as they once were to promote or define who they are. I think in many cases, they aren't really sure who they are. If you were to ask 100 people in their own company, what does your flagship Beauty Rest Posturepedic Perfect Sleeper, what does that actually stand for? What does it mean? What does it mean to the consumer? I think they have a hard time coming out with that. But so not to mention, I think the other thing working here is the money being spent today is being spent by the bed in the box guys. So take that as a data point. Another data point is people like Tempur-Pedic. They're spending money. They've built great preference. But at the end of the day, it's different now, Kinsley, because the review, the word of mouth, has so much impact on the consumer decision that, an awareness of your brand doesn't mean nearly what it used to. Retailers, it's competitive as hell out there. They want better margin. So if a non-branded program gives them 3-4 points better margin, then people are voting on that now. I think there's a lot of trend, actually, people going to that. And then on top of that, it's people wanting to invest. Like forever, retailers have said it's the brand, store brand. It's not the bedding brand, it's the store brand. And that's fine if you build value in your store brand. And I think that some retailers are starting to understand that, hey, look at Casper, look at Tuft & Needle, look at some of these other guys as inspiration. They're building value in something. We can do that too. And they're starting to say, hey, we're going to have our own stuff. So anyway, I think there's a lot of that. And I think that ultimately there's a shift away from the typical traditional brands into people trying to develop and create their own intangible asset. And I think it's picking up speed, and I think it's just going to continue to be where the future is. What do you think?
Well, I think that there's always been this kind of...
Unless they build a lot of preference. Sorry, go ahead.
There's always been this sword fight between the retailer and the brands.
Right.
And whenever you're the brand, you wonder why the retailer doesn't do a better job building value in your product. You're always trying to get them to, position you in the best way possible. And meanwhile, back at the ranch, the retailer thinks, well, I'm a brand. I know how to build a brand. And so you have, this inherent conflict between the products that the retailer is bringing in and the brand itself. And so there's a little bit of, locking of horns at times. And I think that there's real legitimacy around this idea of people that know how to build product brands. It's a different skill set
completely
than somebody who knows how to build a retail brand. And so, yeah, you can have a very strong retail brand like Sit and Sleep. Okay, that's a very strong retail brand. But meanwhile, I saw that Alex MacArthur from Purple is here on the, hey, Alex, how you doing, bud?
Hey, Alex.
So you can't deny that Purple as a brand has created such a significant seismic shift within the marketplace that if you put that into a store, it's going to do things that no store can do on its own.
Okay, fine.
Because people are coming with preference for that product.
Fine, but why? So I don't disagree with that, but the question is why? Why has Purple, why has Sit and Sleep, how have they created preference over awareness? Hey, Iv.
What's up, Iv?
How you doing?
I saw Iv call up on there. So,
and by the way, Ryan,
that's obviously go back to episode number 73 with Alex MacArthur from Purple, and you can listen to that. But they did it through having a truly demonstrable, differentiated product with incredible attention-grabbing marketing and a product that actually did what it was supposed to do. You got to check all those boxes, and you got to put the money behind it and the creativity behind it. And I think Sit and Sleep has done the same thing, but with a retail environment to create top-of-mind preference for the people that are deciding to go out and buy.
I agree, and I boil it down to this issue. If you're a bedding brand and you're not building value in what you do, like Purple is, like Select Comfort is, like Temper is, like Casper is, talk about your products in a way that builds value. If you're not doing that, or a retail store, if all you're about is product, price, and promotion, you will die by that because it's not going to, I don't know how many times to say it. You just can't, if you're not going to build value in what you do, if you're all about product, price, promotion, it devalues what you do. Just wrote a blog about that. Therefore, and if you're not talking about yourself any differently, then that's the problem. So I think the people who seem to be the people that I've already pointed out, and you pointed out, they're building value and stuff. And so because of that, the guy's not doing that. There's a lot of the traditional brands that aren't building value anymore.
Okay,
and because of that, there's
I'm
going to be
take the other side of this. I'm taking the other side for a minute.
Bring it.
And I'm taking the other side because I spoke a couple of weeks ago in Las Vegas at Nationwide.
All right.
So Nationwide, for people who don't know, is a big buying group. So they have more than 5,000 retailers who join Nationwide for all these amazing resources. And one of the things they do is they have this big trade show and they have speaking events. And they have, I came and spoke. I was the lead off for Mattress University. And one of the things I really concentrated on was this idea that you need to have a position in the marketplace.
No doubt.
Because in the consumer's mind, you cannot own multiple pieces of real estate. You get one. You get one piece of real estate. So what position are you going to own? And I talked about this example, which I've mentioned before, of creating categories. When we think about Band-Aid, we're not thinking about the brand of adhesive bandage. We're thinking about the adhesive thing that's covering up the cut on my arm, right? We're thinking about the category, not the brand. When you think about, I mean, sometimes people, use Tempur-Pedic as a surrogate for memory foam.
Right.
They're not thinking about the brand. So we're thinking categorically. Who was the first person to fly across the Atlantic? Charles Lindbergh. Who was the second? Most people don't know.
Charles Lindbergh's dog.
Right. No, it was Bert Hinkler.
Of course,
And
Bert. I should have known that.
He did it faster. He did it better. He did it more safely.
But he was number two.
Who was the third person to fly across the Atlantic?
I don't know.
There wasn't a third person, a third man anyway. There was only a first woman. She created a new category. I'm the first woman. So you're figuring out a way to be first. So, okay, all of this to say, I'm making the argument for positioning, strong message, and actually having a clear plan.
Right.
Goals, strategies, and tactics. And so I laid this all out. Afterward, I had about 10 people request my slides. That was really, that was a pretty good number for most, smaller
very
speaking
good,
events.
very strong.
And one of the guys that requested my slides said, all of that sounds great. However, whenever I put the cheap sheep back up on my website and in my commercials, I start getting more business. Whenever I do stuff that's more, brand focused or positioning focused, and I think there's probably a disconnect because whenever you do get into positioning, if I was opening up a jewelry store today, I'm not opening up a jewelry store. I'm opening up the engagement ring store, right? I'm just gonna try and own that position. So it's tough in the mattress category when you're a specialty sleep retailer to figure out what that position is. But when you do that, you can actually own that piece of real estate. But his point was, yeah, that's fine and dandy, but I got to make some sales in the meantime. And this is what's actually driving people in.
Well, hey, listen, I'm not saying abandon that promotional approach to business. Not what I'm saying. I'm saying if that's all you do, you will suffer that fate. Real quick, Ryan Poppy says you don't need more than 20. If you have more than those that many choices, beds are too similar. People want choices, but clear choices. Thanks, Ryan. I agree.
Amen, Ryan. That's really well put.
And then there was someone else up there, Kinsley. I want to make sure we grab their comment. Jeff is up there too. Alex MacArthur says simplicity always wins online. There's no doubt about that. And then Jeff Shore says, like Jerry said in his last interview, better to be deep in your better products than to be spread too thin. Confusion and analysis paralysis can result. We covered that, and I completely agree.
Yeah, it's a good point too. Whenever you're deep in your product assortment, you're talking about carrying fewer products but having plenty of supply for the people that want them. And here's the deal: if you got a bunch of supply in a product that you are really trying to push, you're going to make sure your sales team is trained up and they know how to tackle that topic. They know how to sell that product. But ultimately, I hear what you're saying. To put a bow on this piece of it before we move on to the next one,
Yep.
I think it's very important to choose promotions that magnify your brand. So if this is the fun place to shop for a mattress, we have the cartoon sheep and this whole thing, that's fine. That's totally fine. That's what you're going to try to own. Like, you're going to position yourself with a certain audience, and then do promotions that magnify your brand, not something that interrupts your brand. Like, if my brand is blue and my sale ads have flashing red, yeah, I know I'm trying to grab attention, but how do you make them hold hands? How do you make them marry?
Right.
So that's all.
So you can match it up.
So, okay, moving on to the future's so bright, I got to wear shades. It's courtesy of Mr. Mark Quinn. You say the future's bright, but yeah, you got to serve your audience. How do people serve their audience?
Well, so in the brick and mortar space and in online, it's gonna become so. Okay, so let's follow the trend of sleep. If it's true that sleep continues to be something that's more interesting to human beings, if more value gets put on sleep as a health issue, if some of the mystery, some research comes out, more people start uncovering some of the secrets of sleep, which we both know there hasn't been a lot done there, not as much as there could be. If all that's true, then doesn't it make sense that they're going to value it differently, and therefore there will be an opportunity for the people that really connect to that issue, not the product issue, but the sleep issue, And when you come into the store or you have them online, you create experiences around that, right? So it's either the diagnostic tool, it's a metric system to help you understand it, which is both of those things are out there. But I'm saying I think they evolve. I think it becomes bigger. I think there's a sleep concierge, which has been tried. I think that idea evolves. I think there's a service where you're not just going into a store to get fit for a bed. You're getting fit for multiple other things. Maybe there's a psychology piece to this because there's so much about settling the mind and peace around sleep. So maybe it just what are the service and then the service of if it's not just buying a bed because this is such a health issue. If you think about nutrition, think of all the services, Kinsley, that are around nutrition. Think about going into a Nike store. It's not just about going into a Nike store to get a shoe. They videotape the way you run. They do that, and then they analyze your steps so that they can fit you with the right shoe. We're doing, like I said, we're doing some of that in the bed space already. But I think that with technology growing the way that it is, that part of what we do is going to grow to be more and more important, and innovators in that space. And by the way, it might not just be about product. It could be about the way you buy that innovates. So I think it's service. It's serving people. We're going to get a lot more creative around that, I think.
You know, it reminds me, you mentioned shoes, but anybody that runs even above, like I run once a year to get away from tigers as they're chasing me out of the zoo, like anybody beyond that who has bought running shoes probably in the past couple of years, I would say more and more people are getting to the point where they're accepting, I need to get fitted for my shoes. So I've got a good friend, Nathan Seacher, works with me here at Leggett & Platt. So Nathan is a Boston marathoner, 10-time Boston marathoner, maybe 11-time. And, you know, so I talked to him about running. Hey, I've got this race coming up and, you know, I'm trying to get in shape. And so I was telling him about some hip pain I had one day, and he said, okay, he's asking me a few questions. He said, let me see the bottom of your shoes. I was like, I don't have them. He goes, no, your dress shoes that you have on right now. So I turn him over and he looks at my shoe and he goes, who put you in that Brooks Beast shoe? And I go, my Academy gift card put me in it. I had like $60 toward the shoe. So I went and they felt comfortable. So I put them on and off I went. He said, that's a corrective shoe. You need to be in a neutral shoe. He said, go get the analysis done where you hop on the treadmill.
Which is what I was talking about. That's what happened to me.
Right, totally. So you hop on the treadmill and they look at your gait and they make sure they put you in the right shoe. Well, I needed a neutral shoe.
Did they let you wear pants when you did that?
No.
Yeah, me neither. That was so weird.
That's it.
I thought that's so odd.
I was like, why am I taking off my britches?
Why would you make me do that?
I was like,
in a store, nonetheless.
Anyway.
So
that may not be your experience. So I got, fitted for the neutral shoe. I go out and run the next day, and I kid you not, my hip pain immediately disappeared.
Is that right?
So the more people, like if we figure out a way in the sleep industry, to get to some of this technology, to get to some of this widespread acceptance of the best way to go about it, it's going to be a huge win because then you have advocates. Now I tell everybody, I'm like, dude, go get fitted for a shoe. Don't get in the wrong shoe because it's going to ruin your health.
Right. And so think about that in terms of sleep. I mean, so we are, we're in tribes, right?
I dropped my paperwork.
Easy. Whoa, hey. When people are in tribes, so when I first had kids, we would go to dinner with other people that had kids our age. So it was us getting away from the kids and having time. But what did we end up doing the entire dinner? We talked about the kids. Well, it was a focus group. It was a support group, essentially, right? Because you want to talk to other people who are having the same issues that you're having, right? So what if, even in the sleep space, you buy a bed, they've created this community, a really cool community, or they gave you free membership into this community where you can go and say, okay, other 50-year-old white guys living in the Midwest that work out twice a week and travel for business, this is what their sleep profile looks like. Like, would I have an interest in seeing that to see if I'm normal or not, or if they're having issues, what are they doing? Or people that eat spicy foods versus not. Like, I would be interested in understanding that differently. So maybe that's a service. Or maybe when you go into a store in the future, they give you a certain set of pajamas that is filled with sensors, and they say, sleep in these pajamas for a week and then come back and we're going to tell you what bed to buy, right? I mean, I think that's where potentially, if you can do some of that, you'll create a really unique, compelling differentiation. That's what I think.
Yeah, and Gretchen, that's a great point. Gretchen said she kind of wetted the bottom of her feet and stepped on a piece of paper to see what type of support she needed, and that was how she bought her shoes, and the first pair worked. I mean, we're going to see...
Go Air Pegasus. There you go.
Go Air Pegasus. That's Nike. I used to have some of those.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
so, I mean, we're going to have simple solutions. We're going to have technological solutions. Ultimately, I think you're going to see something shake out that works for people really well, is scalable, and creates advocates.
Yeah, cool.
I think it's super important. Serve your
It
audience.
goes back to our theme, serve people always.
Serve
right?
people.
Serve people.
Serve it up. You got served. Good enough. Okay, so you said the growth of e-commerce in the category is going to be limited only by the percentage of consumers that believe a bed purchased online is quote-unquote good enough for them.
Yeah, so I hope Alex is not still watching because he'll probably be calling and not typing.
Yeah,
in.
yeah. Hey, beat him up on it, Alex.
Yeah. No,
can't-
actually, he might agree with this. So here's the reality. Okay, so if you think about the people who are going to buy online, right? So you talk to some people and they're like, hell yeah, I bought my bed online. This is why I bought it online. And then you talk to other people and they're like, there's no freaking way I'm going to buy a bed on television or online. So you go, okay, so drill down on that. So we've both seen consumer segmentation. So in the blog, I just kind of get into this. So and some people want to say, oh, well, it's going to be capped at 10%. Or, well, okay, guess what? It hit 5%, it hit 10%, it blew by 10%, right? So where does it stop? Anyone who says they know that is a fool, first of all. Secondly, I think maybe one of the ways to try and understand where it goes is the type of consumer that is actually buying a bed online. So I think, number one, that's going to continue to grow over time because social proof, right? People, all these reviews that come in, if I go to look, if I'm on the fence and I go look and I look at Purple or I look at Casper or any of these guys and I see all the reviews and I see all these other people who've done it and they're like cool with doing it, then that gives me a reason to want to do it. So I think that's part of it. But another part of it is what kind of buyer are they, right? So, and I go through a couple of those things in my blog. So the people that, hey man, I can sleep anywhere, that kind of customer who isn't necessary, like comfort's good, right? Yeah, but what I have, it's fine. Like my wife, she can sleep anywhere. So for her, probably the kind of person that would buy a bed online. A transitional person going from mom and dad's house into a dorm room, they don't really care. They're price sensitive. They're just trying to get some. And for all these people, a lot of them, whatever they have at home, whatever they're going to buy online is going to be better anyway, right? It's going to be new. It's going to be supportive. So for some period of time, also there's a mentality, the IKEA customer, like they buy a disposable product. So not saying that the beds online are disposable because there's some really high quality beds online, but there's also not high quality beds online. Right. And so for some, I think that's a perception. Yeah, well, it's like a lower end. So I think those are some of the consumer categories that would be, and by the way, that's growing, like I said, because social proof, more and more people. So here's what'll happen. The price point online will tick up. Right now it's below $1,000. That's going to change. Already has started to change because people are starting to get more comfortable, right? So that's that. But then there's also the customer who's going to want to go into a store, right? The luxury seeker, someone who wants the very, very best of everything. They're probably not going to buy it online because they want to go and see it and lay down on it and feel it and be impressed. Plus they know that there's probably some level of service attached with buying a really high-end product. Another one is the refuge seeker, right? So someone who, just looks at their bedroom as that end-all be-all oasis at the end of the day. They want to see it. Also, another one is a health person, so who has a back issue. They want to go in and try it out and see if it feels better for them. Or someone who really values sleep as a health issue. They'll probably take it more seriously and want to be there to interact with the bed. So those are some of the categories. But don't. If you're out there trying to handicap the growth of the bed in the box, be careful, because I think that the consumer mindset towards that product is going to continue changing. How does that? Is that?
I think it's fair.
Okay.
I think it's fair, and I also think it's kind of a parallel to pay attention to with some of the other digitally native brands that we're trying to find growth. I mean, Bonobos was like a men's clothing company.
Yep.
Started online. They recently sold to Walmart for like $150 million. But the way that they tried to find growth online was great. They were doing fantastic, but they knew they were kind of getting capped out and stalled out. So they opened up these guide shops where people could go in, they try on the clothes, and then they leave the clothes there, and then they actually ship them to their house. So they had everything in a central distribution center. But they knew they were trying to find growth, and they were going to get that growth, through a physical store. So it makes me wonder, like, how much the emerging brands, Purple, Casper, Tufted Needle, Lisa, they're looking at what is the future of my customer who I own. And if the future of my customer who I own is the potential, maybe a large swath might not come back to me, then I'm going to try to make sure I can come to them and at least put myself back in the consideration set. If they do transition from, I am going from mom and dad's house to my own house for the first time, into I've got a back problem.
Yeah.
You want to be where that growth can happen. But I think it's a hybrid.
Hybrid. Right.
Hybrid.
Well, I do
It's
too.
a whale of a hybrid.
It's a whale. Last point on that was, if you look at that, like follow that to its conclusion. Go back to that. There was the last.
We're looking down at our notes right now.
Yeah. Well, there was something I wanted to point. So, brick and mortar, special service. Okay, nope, not that one.
You talking about the last point here, the ticket growth?
That wasn't it.
We're going to get over to ticket growth.
Product shift.
Oh, no, you're right here, man.
Wait. Oh, there we go. No wonder.
Wrong page.
Serve your audience? No. Where's the payoff? Right there, my man.
Brick and mortar store really becomes the place that consumers go in search of a special service that can only be delivered by a human, and to see a product that is higher in price and not likely to be sold sight unseen. The average unit selling price in stores will likely push higher as e-commerce guys grow their business at $1,200 price points, and below that, taking market share from traditional
That
channels.
was the point I was searching for, which is, I think, brick and mortar stores become more about the higher ticket and experience. E-commerce guys do, anyway, so we've already covered that, but you get what I'm saying.
I think some of the retailers that are going to win in the future are the ones who have like these interactive environments that you can't stop talking about. I know we've said it before, but if you can start thinking about like who wouldn't, like, I know this is carnival sounding, but like think about the interaction here. Who wouldn't want to play Plinko? I watch Plinko on forever. Plinko, you know what I'm talking about? On the show?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
What the hell's the name of the show?
Price is Right.
Price is Right.
I'm struggling with the fact that
I
you
always
watch
wanted
it. I'm just struggling with the fact that you would like watch that. If there was a Plinko channel, would you like watch that?
No, I'm saying if it was in a store, I would want to play it.
Oh,
so
all right. Well, of
what
course.
are the things that people see out there that they really want to take part in? It's like Ellen's Game of Games.
Wait a minute, that's your question, and you landed on Plinko. Of all the examples you could have given,
I've always wanted to
you
play
landed
Plinko.
on Plinko. Have you ever played Plinko?
No, that's what I'm saying. If I
Gosh
say,
almighty.
But what are the things that you really want to do that you could go have that experience at a retail environment and you could hitch your wagon to that? Like, those are the fun things.
Would
that you
someone
have.
please put a Plinko board up in your store, and I want to see what kind of business that drives. I just really want to see.
I wasn't suggesting.
Yes, you were.
A Plinko.
You heard
board.
it here, Dos Marcos.
I'm telling people that, like, what is something that somebody
Mark
wants
Kinsley
to get their hands on?
just said
The satisfaction of playing Plinko
I get
online
it.
is
I-
not to the
I
same
get
degree.
it. I say massage table. He says Plinko. We want one of you to have a massage table, and one of you had a Plinko board, and we're going to see which one drives more interest.
Just remind me the next time that he goes to shop for shoes, I don't want to be around when they
Come on.
put him on the treadmill
All right,
because
Plinko.
I know.
I like Plinko.
All right, so the last point you made was about ticket growth. Like you're saying the future of ticket growth is going to be really bright.
Well, you and I've talked about. So I have friends in the essentials business, right? And I really think that what they're doing is important for retailers. So adding to the ticket. So you've got sheets and protectors and pillows and all those things. But I think it's going to expand. I really do, because it goes back to the macro trend of people valuing sleep differently. And so I wake up now at like 2 or 3 in the morning every night, pretty much.
Why?
Well, I don't know. Someone read a story to me one time where, back in the day, there were 2 sleeps. People slept in phases. The first sleep and the second sleep.
Whenever they that was before the advent of electric light.
Yeah.
And they did a study updated
well,
that
maybe
where
that's my problem.
a bunch of kids, they put them in the absence of electric light,
Okay.
just to see what would happen to them. And after about 2 weeks, they got into this first and second sleep.
Yeah.
They were up for about an hour every night.
Okay. Yeah. So I wake up and I have a hard time getting back to bed. So I'll read or do something to try to, I'll meditate or whatever. But it's weird. I can't get back to sleep for some reason. But anyway, So when I think through that, like other, the other things. So for sleep, it's not just the bed that I'm in. Like, what other things could help me? Or other people. We know that there's a lot of people. Sleep is a very, very complicated thing. And again, we don't even understand the science behind it. But what other products can help you sleep? There's a lot of stuff that you can buy today that helps you sleep. There's teas that you can drink. There's music. There's pajamas. There's
Sound machines.
socks. There's heavy blankets. There's sound machines. There's so many things that can help you sleep that I really believe if a store becomes a place to not sell you things, but to help you sleep better, solve that problem, then in reality, that store should carry other things that help you sleep. Am I wrong? And so I just think it helps add to ticket. I think it helps drive traffic because there might be some consumable goods in that, like teas, right? It'd be the place to go for those teas. And so I think it's more, and that creates more of an experience. What if in that same store you had this really kick-ass space of like 5,000 square foot and you had Dr. Ruben Nyman sitting smack dab in the middle of that store on Saturdays giving free sleep advice as well as candles and all these. I just think that the ticket growth is important to the health of the retailer. I think that sleep is going to become more important. And I think that all of that kind of meshes together to grow ticket, which is the business driver there, but also help people.
Yeah.
What are you thinking, man? You
Yeah,
think Ruben would start an army of Rubens?
Yeah, you remember we used to have sleep thoughts with Dr. Ruben Nyman?
I do. I remember.
And we would read that. No, I think it's point well taken, and I think as we gain more traction within the consumer space, meaning more people are valuing sleep. Yeah, they're checking the box on fitness and nutrition and now sleep. I think what you're going to see is you're going to see a foray into fitness environments. I think you're going to see the Jenny Craigs and the Weight Watchers of the world really start to embrace, the science of sleep and how that's going to impact weight loss and health. And I think that can bubble up into this amazing new model. And that's what it is to me. It's a new model. It's not just the mattress. The mattress should have a direct connection to better sleep. But man, who cares if you can get some consumables in there that bring people back into your store consistently? It's like dog bakeries. They got the new stuff, and you go in and you get the new treat, and you're buying leashes and pet beds and whatever else, but you're coming in for something that you need on repeat.
Right.
And I think you're right. It's a really good point because we want healthy retail. We want healthy retail that's creating experiences and serving people. We want to be able to have conversations about our products in relation to sleep. And we have to inject ourselves into that conversation in a very strong, firm way. Wouldn't
it be cool, though? So I told you my issue with sleeping. How many people do you think are out there that have my same problem? You know what I'm saying? That are waking up at 2 and 3 in the morning. I bet there's a lot of people that do that. And so I would love to talk to those people, back to the services side, back to the product solution side. Or if there was a store out there that advertised and said, hey, we know that sleep is complicated for some people. We know it's elusive for some people. Come in, we want to talk to you about that. And if you had a cool experience where you could learn about that, and they had literature, or they had different, I'd go there because sleep's a big deal, man. I'm in. I want to figure it out. And here I am in the industry, so I know things to do and all of that. But I bet there's stuff I don't know.
And I think there are going to have to be multiple entry points into finding that sleep concierge or that person that's doing things for people. Gretchen, you made a really great point about people wanting things done for them. If you can find out, hey, here's how you truly set up a sleep environment for success, and you service your business that's a product business. So how do you turn your product into a service? How do you turn your service into a product? So now we're trying to turn our products into a service. And go through Sleep Geek University. This is, we just had our 1,000th graduate.
That is so cool. Tell me about that guy, by the way.
Well, hold on. I'm going to make the point. The point is, go through Sleep Geek University, and one of the things that always stands out to people, and they tell us this on repeat, is the chapter or the module about sleep environment. They're like, I wasn't even thinking about all these different barriers to sleep hiding in your bedroom. So anyway, I think if you start thinking about how to turn your products into service, then you're going to open yourself up to other communities of people, fitness, chiropractors, on and on it goes. And that's just biz deving at the local level, which is super important.
Well, something else Gretchen said was you can offer people your own personally brewed beer.
Wait, I saw this
And
this ad that said beer and beds. I was like, beer and beds?
Well, beers, beds, and bigger
tickets.
Right. So we were making an analogy of Spink and Egger with craft beers. It's special. It's different.
That's a really good idea, Gretchen.
There you go.
And I have actually seen on Gretchen's and Javier's Facebook page, and them like brewing up the beer. So they're actually brewing their own beer. Talk about a crafted experience that you can only have at their location, nowhere else. You can't get Gretchen and Javier's brewed beer at another retailer and have a tasting.
There's no doubt in my mind. And Jeff says, hey, focus on restoration, which the mattress is the key component. I like that, Jeff. I don't know if you meant to say this. I think you probably did. The key component, make the mattress the central part, the heart of that solution. Number one, it's a bigger ticket. Number two, it's where you spend most of your time. But we also know that the comfort of that, the downside, Gretchen, is, wow, we just nailed it.
I didn't even get any of that.
Gosh almighty.
There we go.
I was listening to a podcast. They said people like to drink wine because it like calms them down, lets them go to bed, but it also is a sleep inhibitor.
In excess, it's a sleep inhibitor. What it does is you can go to sleep, but it will keep you from deep REM sleep if in excess.
Yeah, and then also, who is the guy on the podcast? He does. Come on, he's an MMA guy, Rogan, Joe Rogan. Yeah, he's a big pot smoker, and he was talking about how he likes to smoke pot and go to bed, and then he did some research on it and realized that smoking pot actually can get you tired, but it's the same as alcohol. It doesn't actually help you sleep well. So bad news for you out there hitting the pipe before you go to sleep, which I think is a huge part of our audience is that.
You think so? Most of the audience is smoking the ganja, huh?
I don't know anymore. Yeah.
Oh, hey, and yeah, it looks like Dave from Colorado just hopped on. No, I'm kidding.
All right. Well, hey, I don't know, man. I think we made a case. I think we at least had a good debate there. But listen, guys, if you're out there listening, if we missed it, if there's stuff we didn't hit, let us know.
Yeah. Let Mark Quinn know. Absolutely. 100%. Hey, and thanks to everybody that joined us on Facebook Live. And hey, if you haven't checked out some of the past podcasts, listen to the one with Jerry Borgini from Therapeutic. His story about Brian Wilson, the guy from the Beach Boys, Brian Wilson. That story is so funny. That's episode 77.
You know, I went into that podcast, and I like Jerry a lot, and I didn't, but I was really not expecting it to be as good as it was. Not that he's not interesting, but he's so dang good at telling a story, and those stories he told were fantastic. So you got to check it out. By the way, you mentioned Nationwide. How did it go? You had a good time out there. Good people, aren't they?
Time.
Yeah. So can you hit me before we close out today with anything that really made an impact?
Thanks so much to Jerry Honey, Chad Fisher, the entire team at Nationwide. They invited me to come out and kick things off. And 8 a.m. in Las Vegas as a speaking slot can be a tough one, but pretty good full room.
This says a lot about what they thought about you, though, that you could carry an 8 a.m.
Yeah.
That's big.
Yeah. That was very nice of them. So I was able to kick it off. And I told them from the very beginning, I'm like, I feel like I'm going to serve you up a big tray of vegetables the first thing in the morning, and I hate to do this, but I told them my key takeaway was, look, if you are in business today and you're trying to market your business, I truly believe more than anything else, you need to have a clear plan. And a plan is broken down very simply by a goal, your strategies, which is how you're going to get there, and the tasks, like everything you need to gather up, create, and do. And if you break it down like that and you really make yourself think through those strategies, it doesn't matter what channel comes online. Facebook can change, Snapchat can come along, Instagram can add stories, YouTube can do everything under the sun to switch up what it's got going on. Something that we haven't even heard about can come along, and it's totally fine because you have the framework for pulling in these tactical things and making them part of your process. I've done it both ways. I've done it where you don't have a plan, and I've done it where I'm dog on a bone. I am planning D-Day on scraps of paper. And when you plan this thing out, it's really gonna catapult your business. And so afterward, I think that's why I had so many people email me, because I broke down goals, strategies, and what were examples of those, and what was like a task list attached to each of those strategies. And when you do that, man, I'm telling you, it has a huge impact on your business. We've done it together, I know, and we've seen the results of that.
But we've gone charging into projects not prepared, And then we, in the middle of it, we slow down and go, okay, wait. What's our strategy? And then we realize we really didn't, with this one, we really didn't get plan strategy. What percentage of companies, small businesses out there, do you think are planning their business versus putting out fires and existing?
I think a lot of people, I think the percentage is very low.
Of what? Planning?
The percentage of people that are actually planning.
Yeah.
I think
and they might start out there, but it kind of gets away from them, don't you think?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, whenever you're a firefighter all day long, it's tough to zoom out and say, hey, what's actually causing the fires? And then go create a plan for limiting all that.
Yeah.
And I've taken people through this process, and invariably on the other side of it, they come out, like, dang, that really sucked. Like, that was tough work. We had to really look at ourselves in the mirror and hate what we saw for a while before we went and cleaned up our act. But man, it's such a small percentage.
Yeah.
You know what I can do? I can actually share a link to my slides. Some of them aren't going to really make sense, but I could share a link to my slides here in the Facebook Live. So if you're on the podcast, just go look for episode number 78. And I'll put a link down here to my slides as soon as I can find. I was trying to do it on the fly, but I couldn't find it.
I was going to say you're better than I, because I couldn't be talking like that and still find out. I'll tell you what, I'll close this down and you can find that and put it up. But hey, we get a lot of feedback. We want to thank you for that. The 1000th Sleep Geek U graduate. Really, what's his name, by the way?
Sean Bell.
Sean Bell, well done, my man. And
Sean.
If you're a retailer out there, I promise you, if you go discover Sleep Geek University, top right-hand corner, red logo, it's really a valuable way to educate yourself. Even if you're not at retail, man, just go check it out. A lot of great content there. A lot of great ways to educate yourself. And then, if you're struggling right now in a retail business or a wholesale business, that is certainly happening. For some, we get messages. So stick with it, man. Persistence wins. And if you're doing great, reach out to someone who isn't, maybe, and impart some knowledge on them. And no matter what, we're grateful to all of you for listening. Like us on Facebook. Give us a share. Tell someone about us. We appreciate it. And, man, stay connected. How about that?
You could bounce on it. Yeah, bounce with it. Bounce with it. Bounce with it. Bounce with it. All right. What is a hybrid? It's like peanut butter jelly, peanut butter chocolate. Hybrid so tight, there's no way that you could topple it. Hybrid on my wrist, that